What's up? It's Elijah Campbell from 107.5 The Game and the post-game show, here to break down the South Carolina women's basketball team and how they can recover from what's definitely the worst news that they've gotten this year with the loss of Ashlyn Watkins in the Mississippi State game just the other day. Announced that she was torn ACL out for the year, and that's going to leave a big hole for this team because Ashlyn Watkins is without a doubt one of the best defenders in all of college basketball, one of the best athletes in the sport, one of the best shot blockers. She is a dynamic playmaker for this team, and there's going to have to be some players step up, and so far you're seeing that already with a blowout win against Texas A&M on Thursday afternoon. There's got to be a couple players that I'm looking for to be able to step up and try to fill in that void too. Ashlyn Watkins is a lot of stuff on this team, and if you look over at some of the numbers, she's 15th nationally in Bart Torvik's box plus minus metric, 5th on this team in offensive rating per Bart Torvik, and then per College Basketball Reference, she's 2nd on the team in defensive box plus minus and 3rd in offensive rebound percentage. She does a lot of things. Great rebounder, great defender, great athlete. How do you make up for that loss and still be able to contend later on in the season, especially in an SEC gauntlet that happens with a game that's happening on Sunday against Texas, a top 5 team coming into town? That's going to be a massive showdown, and they're going to have some forward step up. And I think you've seen some evidence in the last couple of games, whether it be the second half against Mississippi State or late in the first half after she got hurt against Mississippi State and in the Texas A&M game, on what this team's going to look like without Ashlyn Watkins. So I wanted to break down a couple of plays and discuss some things here about how they can be able to do that. And we'll start off with maybe the more responsibility. Who's going to get more responsibility on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball? And Dawn was asked about maybe how to handle the rotations after the game. Lulu Kesson asked a really good question about those rotations and what that's going to look like without Ashlyn Watkins. Here was Dawn's response when asked that question.
I mean, it's all of that, you know. I mean, Joyce made me play her probably more because of how she came out and played. I mean, we'll probably lean on the 3 that's played the most minutes for us, and Joyce and Fagan and Chloe, and then we'll bring everybody else along and spot them here or there. It is about production. If any one of the 3, meaning Sakima, Adele, or Miriam, play well, I'm going to leave them out there. They're going to play extended minutes. If they don't, then I gotta pull them. I think we pulled Miriam, was it the third quarter? You know, so I mean that was enough. But I let her go a little bit longer than I probably wanted to let her go. But she needs the experience. So, you know, she can watch film and she can see where there are areas where she can improve in those moments. But at some point, I do think that Miriam's going to have a breakout. I do. We're just waiting for it.
And 2 parts to that. One, the big 3 that she mentioned that are still going to be getting a lot of playing time, being the crux of this team when it comes to the forward position, with Joyce Edwards, with Sanaya Fagan, with Chloe Kitts. There's a couple of offensive examples that I would like to look at in terms of what they do really well, and they can still do really well, and you might see more of moving forward, starting with the high-low post action. It's one of my favorite actions that this team does, right? I think they've always been really good at post-to-post passing, and if you ask any coach in basketball at any level, one of the hardest things to guard is really good post-post passing. And Chloe Kitts and Sanaya Fagan do that really well. They play a really good high-low game, but it's not just the passing. I want to show you this clip from the Mississippi State game of what makes Sanaya Fagan valuable, even if she doesn't have the ball. She's a really solid screener, but in this scenario right here, if we watch what happens here against Mississippi State, we'll see that Chloe Kitts initiates the offense. She gets the ball near the top of the key, and then you'll see what she does in taking her defender off the dribble one-on-one. Takes her defender off the dribble, and if you watch Sanaya Fagan, she seals off the defender. So the help defender that was going to collapse in on Chloe Kitts gets sealed off by Sanaya. Chloe gets an easier look at the basket. Instead of being collapsed upon, able to seal that defender, and Chloe's able to score. That's how this team does, not just with the passing in a high-low set with their post, but when Chloe puts the ball on the deck, which she's really good at doing, very gifted at putting the ball on the floor and getting to the basket, Sanaya can help in any type of way. It's almost like setting a de facto ball screen over on the block. So that's one of the many ways they can still generate offense. Want to look at, another example. This one is from not from the high-low pass, post-to-post passing. This is how Joyce Edwards can really make herself involved in the offense. And that's by being a fantastic offensive rebounder. In the Texas A&M game, had 4 offensive boards and was able to turn some of those into second chance points. And that is massive for this South Carolina team, because if you think about some of the best teams that they've had in the past with Dawn Staley at the helm, they've always been dominant offensive rebounders. And Joyce can be one of the many great offensive rebounding forwards in a long lineage of great Gamecock rebounders. One example yesterday, whenever they were mounting this large run to create that first quarter separation against Texas A&M, you see this play right here, and you see the steal, right? Malaysia makes an incredible play, is able to get a steal, and then go out in transition, misses the layup, but Joyce Edwards is there. She runs the floor really well, grabs the offensive rebound, and is able to put it back up. 2 points. South Carolina extends their lead to 12-6. That's going to be one of the things that they're going to rely upon her to do, because Ashlyn Watkins, again, third or one of the best offensive rebounders on this team, one of the better offensive rebounders in the country because of her athleticism. Ashlyn's really hard to box out. Joyce is going to have to fill in that role, and I believe she will. She's got great size, great athleticism. I love how she attacks the glass already. I think that's going to be a really big plus for this team. And that's going to be one of the ways, actually, you're going to have to be able to come back from losing an Ashlyn Watkins. But now we get to the big thing, right? Defense. Defensively, how do you make up for the loss of an Ashlyn Watkins? And we're going to have to see a lot more production out of Saniyah Fake in terms of not fouling, right? She averages a little over 2 fouls per game and can sometimes get in foul trouble. Average about 5 fouls per 40 minutes. So if you prorate a game and her minutes through an entire 40-minute game, she averages fouling out. Going to have to cut down on that. That's really number one for Saniyah, I think, is going to have to limit the fouling, because you need her on the floor, because defensively, she does make a lot of good plays. I want to show you this play from the Mississippi State game where the ball gets down into the post, and Saniyah does a really good job being able to guard 2 players at once, essentially. Chloe does a great job on this play guarding the ball. And then if you go back and watch, when the post player picks the ball up, Tahina Paopao for a split second looks over and loses her cutter. And Saniyah sealing off not just the forward, but able to seal off the cutter coming to the basket and essentially guarding 2 players at once, forcing a skip pass that gets stolen by Raven, because Raven does a fantastic job, as she usually does, of reading the passing lanes, jumping the passing lanes, and being able to make a play happen, and then she's going off the other way. But Saniyah Fagan in that play, I love how she was able to catch the cutter and basically be able to get in between the cutter and the person she's guarding. That way, that dump pass to the opposite block couldn't get there, and neither could the pass to the cutter going into the lane. So it was great help defense from Saniyah Fagan, and really good on-ball defense from Chloe Kitts, too. We'll watch the play one more time. I think Chloe plays fantastic on-ball defense here to stop the drive. You see what Saniyah does to pick up the cutter and keep her player off the block, resulting in a steal, going the other way. And then one last thing, too, defensively. Now, to put Joyce into this equation, I like early in the game against Texas A&M, their philosophy of fronting the post, right? You see here on this play, going back to the first quarter of this game, ball goes to the top of the key. Joyce does a fantastic job of fronting the post, forcing a lob pass over to the basket, and that lob allows Chloe Kitts to come over and help side defense and be able to block the shot, right? We'll watch this play one more time. Look at how Joyce is able to get in front of that defender. The only pass to, or the offensive player, the only pass to the post would have been that lob, so it's not an easy pass. And despite the player for Texas A&M catching the ball, Joyce does a fantastic job of keeping her in front of her, pinned below the backboard, and Chloe does a good job of coming in on help side to be able to block the shot. A&M player gets it back, travels. That's a turnover right there. So there's a couple of plays, too, that I think really illustrate what this forward unit between Joyce, Chloe, and Saniyah can still do offensively and defensively. And then, of course, the way Chloe's been scoring the ball lately, too. I'll harken back to how she took over the Duke game in the non-conference slate, played really well. She took over from a scoring perspective late in the Mississippi State game. I think you're going to have to see a lot more of that, and that's something I'm really looking forward to as well, and really excited to see the combination of Chloe and Saniyah get more minutes, right? So once Ashlyn went down, going back to that Mississippi State game, Joyce is in the game for a while. They sub out, And then you have the minutes of Chloe Kitts and Sanaya Fagan on the floor at the same time. They go on a little bit of a run where they outscore Mississippi State by 11, changes the course of the game. And that's going to change a lot. And it's going to be on a game-by-game basis what the better combination of forwards to play will be. And that's going to be Dawn's job, right, is to be able to figure out what the best combinations of players for each game. And it's going to change by game. It's going to change each game because every game is going to be different in terms of personnel, in terms of the opposing team's strengths, weaknesses. Do you have to play small? Sometimes you can, but there'll be some games that I think you'll see more Joyce and Chloe or Chloe and Sanaya. So it's going to get a little trickier to figure out those minutes. And I like how Dawn answered the question about figuring out those rotations with those three players earlier. But one player that I'm really looking forward to seeing how they become acclimated into this team is Miriam Dowda, because you listened at the very end of that clip. Dawn talked about working Sakima Walker, Miriam Dowda, Adele Tack into the game, into each game and into more of the rotation, giving them bigger minutes in this game. Dowda, I thought, did a fantastic job at the end of the first quarter, making a nice pass to Bree Hall earlier to set up a bucket, and also by just being able to be a steadying presence, not turn the ball over. That's going to be one of those things, too, that those players are going to have to get more minutes to be able to spell them in case Sanaya does get in foul trouble, or if Sanaya and Chloe get in foul trouble, or any combination of those three players that I mentioned earlier. If foul trouble happens, those are the three forwards that Don alluded to between Tack, Sakima, and Miriam Dowda are going to have to be able to get in the game and get more minutes, hopefully get some more productive minutes. That's going to be something to really watch for, is how they become acclimated. But Miriam Dowda is the one I'm looking for a lot. Averaged 2 blocks per game last season at Arkansas, is being slowly acclimated. And she has a skill set, too, that might be a little different. I mean, she made 31% of her threes last year at Arkansas, but she shot almost 3 a game. So she's comfortable shooting 3-point shots. So that's something to look forward to on the offensive side of the ball, what she can maybe bring in terms of her skill set. And with that one assist, I was really impressed with to Bree Hall early in the first quarter in the Texas A&M game. I think it shows that she can be a really skilled basketball player as well. And if she's able to find herself reasonably acclimated, proving herself in practice and earning the extra minutes, I think that can give this team something a little different. Now, it's going to be really hard. You don't just replace a player like Ashlyn Watkins, like for like, right? It's got to be a combination of finding out what you have on your team right now. I like South Carolina's chances of being able to do that. I still love the forwards that they have, and I think they'll be able to overcome the injury, even though it is going to be a massive loss. Something to look forward to in this Texas game on Sunday, a top 5 showdown at CLA. Going to be a fascinating game. I'm looking forward to it, and of course, you can hear that action here on 107.5 The Game or at 107.5thegame.com. Looking forward to having you all with us. Looking forward to watching the game myself and then talking about it on Monday, myself and Jay Phillips, 3 to 6 on the postgame show. We'll see you then.